Welcome to the podcast. Here it's Keenan. Here actually in Mexico. It's not Keenan Steiner anymore. Here it's Keenan Sanchez. And I am in a kind of Airbnb I've rented in Mexico City. I'm very uncomfortable. Let's just start there. It's disgusting. The bed is good and the place is cute and quiet, but this desk is so small. It's like for a child, and this desk chair I'm sitting in makes my back hurt. And so it's hard to start this podcast. I don't love it. I'm asking him to put in a new desk because I'm going to be here for the long term, and I'm going to buy an office chair. But it's like makes me so OCD. Because my OCD goes that way too, where it's like things don't feel right, and then my brain is like, I'm going to be distracted and I'm not going to be able to be productive or funny. So I'm like, it's taking me an hour to be like, I can't do this podcast because I'm not relaxed. And I'm not in a creative space, everything else is fine. So, but anyway, I don't have my aloe vera juice because it's not like I'm taking it on the plane from New York, but I do have this Huichol tea. Which is Huichol, are an indigenous group here, and their tea that I bought at the market in Oaxaca the other day is like wood chips and green leaves. It kind of tastes like green tea. I'm trying to get comfortable. You got to give me a second. Give me a second here. All right, you know what? I moved to the couch. We're not going to do this, and we're still going to get this thing done. You know what I mean? Just because I'm not comfortable doesn't mean we're not doing it. So it's part of my therapy here. We're going to get it done. Let's see what we could do here. I don't know what the hell this is. This is so bizarre. What is this? I don't know. I'm like on the couch, but like I still brought all my recording equipment down here, which is like very minimal, but there's like a plastic thing, then an arm that attaches to a desk that you like hinge to a desk, and then there's a microphone that goes into that, and then there's a Zoom recorder and the wire that goes in between those two, and headphones. So they all came down with me, and so I've installed this here, and it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So how am I? Let's see. I'm down here because I'm shooting a special in Spanish on April 3rd, and I am excited. So tell everybody you know who speaks Spanish and who's going to be in Mexico City. And so I'm training down here, going to being on different shows in Spanish and being on different, open mics in Spanish, trying to improve my Spanish. So setting up for that. Let's just get right into it with what's going on. So I was just down in Oaxaca where I did a show. Because I did my whole hour there to prep for the show on the, Oaxaca is a place in southern Mexico, beautiful cultural place. And I was worried about it, because I haven't done Spanish, my full Spanish show in a couple years. And back in a couple years ago, it really wasn't ready to be done when I did it down here in Mexico. And this one is a little bit more of a full show. It feels like I have a lot to say. And about 20 people came out. It was good. A couple of girls there, comedians, female comedians opened the show for me, and they were really fun. And it's weird. I've brought a new approach to the show. One of the things I'm doing during my shows, because of course it's been a year or two where like dry mouth is bothering me more. I bring, my friend suggested some candy, some like sweet sour candies. So I'm trying these like tahine. They're not tahini. These like sweet and spicy Mexican candies that are like spicy picante. And yeah, I just 3 times during the show, I just popped them in my mouth. in front of the audience. So that's how I'm trying to deal with that. I deal with OCD, which is as we know from this podcast, over attention and obsession with my mouth becoming dry, and then worry about that. And that obviously can take you out of the moment and make you not very, flowing and not very funny. And that's what worries me when I do these shows. So I'm trying to like manage it the best I can, instead of cry about it. Just play it as it lies. That's what they do in golf. You got to play it as it lies. Okay, you're a dry mouth comedian. All right, well, we are going to talk about the dry mouth and admit it. I'm not going to hide it. This is what I am. And that's the goal, at least. So we're popping pops. We're popping poppies. We're popping cherries. I don't know if I ever popped anybody's cherry. I may have. I've done it with men. Oh, boy. I've done it with men. Holy crap. Anyway, I did it with a man once where we were in the bathroom. I met this guy. He's actually a Mexican guy in New York. Anyway, we went into the bath. You don't want to know all this. Fine. Yes. Should I do it? I don't know. The point is we had sex, and then afterwards he loved it. I think I might have told this story on the podcast. And he was like, he was like really, really like fawning, and he was like, it was so amazing. But it turns out it was his first time. Well, of course you're going to like it. Nothing to compare it to. So anyway, I'm working on it here, and the show felt good. After the show, people wanted to take photos with me. It felt good. And so anyway, I was down in Oaxaca. The people are I love the markets. You get there and you get to the market, and the food, Oaxaca is known for its food. So one of the things that you try is like I think it's called tejate. Yeah, it's tejate. And because I get it confused with tapeche, which is the pineapple rind beverage. This is tejate, which is prepared with corn, cacao, hueso de mamey, which I think comes from the mamey plant. Mamey is a fruit. Okay, so it's some sort of it's attached to the fruit of the mamey, and then cocoa cream basically, which is made somehow. I don't know, but the point is it's called bebida de los dioses, the beverage of the gods. But it's like this like sweet, not too sweet. What's going on? Savory, has the starch in it beverage. You got a little cacao, but it's also savory. And I love stuff like that. You wonder why it's not gone global. I think because it's so particular and so hard to make. It looks like there's like fluffy, like almost like fluffy, like styrofoam on top of the beverage. Anyway, the point is it's great. Okay, I need some huichol drink. Like one of the best things I ate was surprisingly in the market. There was this little bakery that had like what looked like the equivalent of almost Italian cream puffs. Like I grew up that way with cream puffs and cannolis, and they had what looked like the same as cream puffs, not the same. And then they also had like bigger cream puffs. And I tried it, and the pastry cream tastes exactly like the good pastry cream I got from Italian bakeries growing up, but the bread that it was in, they were so flaky and crunchy and well done, like well made. It was just beautifully flaky. They called them empanaditas de leche, small empanadas of milk, and it was just like you nailed it. And there's just one little bakery in the market in Oaxaca called El Arte Oaxaqueño. I tried the equivalent of these elsewhere. They were not as good. So if you go to Oaxaca City, go to El Arte Oaxaqueño Bakery in the market for flaky empanaditas de leche. So anyway, I love being in Oaxaca, and people are just nice. They talk to you. Like, people are kind. I walked into this gay bar over there in downtown Oaxaca, which, by the way, is teeming with foreigners at this point. I've been coming to Oaxaca for many years, and it's like at the past times I've gone, like, you definitely see foreigners for sure, but they're not dominating the city. This is completely, downtown is equal amount foreigners as locals. And I think at this point, I used to go around Oaxaca, and you just felt like everyone was at least in Centro downtown, people were just like the service you get was really nice, and everything was you felt so special to be there. And now I don't know if it was the places I went or not, but it feels like people are a little faker about that, the locals, because from what I hear from other locals is that they're like tired of the foreigners. The gentrification has gone prices up so much. I think to some degree, at some of these places, they're really fed up with the prices, and so it's a double-edged sword having all these visitors come in. So it wasn't quite the same. When you have that many foreigners and a few less locals, it does feel a little less special. Oaxaca is still incredible. Incredible. I walked into this bar, which had a funny name, this gay bar called uh, Bar Blue 69. I love that they named it 69. And I just went in there, a lot of people just sitting to themselves. Nobody was hot, really. It wasn't that kind of a place. Very local. People were quiet. There was music going on. People were a little shy. I meant no one is hot in the sense of like, I don't know, like it's not like it's not like you go in and it's like, there's some older people, some people sitting alone. It's not like wasn't like the hot place out on the town, like the sceney spot. So I just went to the bar, had a little local mezcal, and then I'm walking out the door, and somebody taps me, and he's like, "Why are you leaving? Why don't you come sit with us?" That's the kind of place Oaxaca is. Then I sat with them. I ate their peanuts. They offered me a beer, and that's in general and true for Mexico. Is true for Mexico. And I invited the guy to my show the following night, and guess what? He showed up. So it's that kind of a lugar. It's that kind of a place. All right, hey everybody, here we are. All right, let me start with this. I have a new chair, and so what happened is I couldn't do that podcast anymore. I was so uncomfortable, and so I went to the Office Max to buy a chair. I sat in a few various different ones. I concerned the staff. There's one nearby where I'm staying in Condesa in Mexico City, and too many options. There's some of them are ergonomic, some of them are executive chairs, some of them are swivel, some of them are kind of similar to the one I have at home. You sit in them, you're like, what's going to be long term for me? What's going to work here? Long term, meaning like a month. And so they asked me, I was in there so long that a woman came up to me and she says, can you, because I was moving the chairs because some of the desks are of different heights. And so I wanted to see what it was like, because you can't compare apples to oranges, So I had to compare one chair to the that it was at, and then I had to compare. Sorry, this went out for a second. I had to use the same chair at the same desk. Shouldn't evaluate that other chair at the other desk because And so she just came over to me and she's like, "Could you just do me a favor? Can you put the chairs back that you've used, put the original place after you've used them?" Yeah, of course. I'm not going to move them and like keep them over there and just rearrange it, make it a whole crazy mess. I'm going to put it back. But they were alarmed by me. But anyway, I got a new chair that's reasonably comfortable. I put it together myself in an Airbnb. Let me just say this is an Airbnb. It's not like I live here. Well, it's a long-term Airbnb. I'm going to stay here. And the host is like really nice. And I've been telling him that the desk, which is made for a child and makes my back bend over, it's hard for me to do work. And so, of course, another person could just tolerate it and say, "Oh, discomfort is part of life." But no, not me. I asked him can we put in a different desk that I can actually be comfortable at? He had no problem with it. He was very nice. He had one, but it was such crap. It was horrible. So I was like, "Do you have another one?" And he brought another one. And this one is fine. So I've got a whole renovation of I've renovated an Airbnb, temporary Airbnb I'm staying in. Not too many people say that. For me, it's like I could just tolerate it, like I said, on a small desk made for a child with like a bar. Anyway, but then I would get too distracted by the discomfort, and that would affect my creativity. There's where my OCD comes in. So I feel, I did some minor adjustments. I'm okay now. It's good enough. It's not perfect. I wish I had a better chair still, but I'm fine. Okay, let's go to this week's sponsor. This episode of Keenan's podcast is brought to you by Delivery in Mexico. Are you not home when the package delivery comes from Amazon or Paqueteria Express? No worries. The delivery man will text you, and you could tell him where you are, and he'll come to you and not even charge you. It's unbelievable. When I first moved to Mexico, I was like, how am I going to get mail? Because I don't have a mailbox, and mail people can't access the lobby. It gave me anxiety. After it started happening, and Jorge, Juan, and Carlos started delivering my packages, and I wasn't home, they just texted me. Now I have Amazon Jorge, Amazon Carlos, and Amazon Juan in my phone. If they miss me, I'll go find them wherever they are. This episode of Keenan's podcast is brought to you by Delivery in Mexico. More on Oaxaca. I love this news. The guy I went on a date with, the cutest little freaking man I've ever seen in Puerto Vallarta. No, in Oaxaca. Oh my goodness gracious. Don't get me horny just thinking about him. I switched drinks and I'm having hot Oaxacan chocolate. Anyway, this is interesting. So I asked him, he told me something. I don't know how we got to the topic of dog names in Mexico. I think we got to the topic of how English and Spanish meld and how people pronounce words here. He was just so cute. Oh my God. And drove me around a little bit and everything. And took me around to different parts of the city. I learned so much. But he taught me the one little fun thing I'll never forget is Mexicans will, first of all, bistec, which is steak in Spanish. I just kind of thought my whole life that it also came from some common linguistic history, but it comes from, I guess, Spanish folks, the Spanish-speaking world, pronouncing beef steak and not being able to sort of pronounce it that way, so they call it bistec. How did I never realize that? But it gets better. But they are doing it in another way. The most common dog name here is Firules. And the origin of that is very interesting because the most common Firules, the most Firulais, and the most widely accepted interpretation of how that became the name that the equivalent of what we would call Frodo, or any common dog name that we would use, whatever common dog name is that we have. What are common dog names we use? Let's say Lucy. I feel like it's Frodo, Duke, Buddy, Rocky. Anyway. So the point is, the equivalent of any common dog name that they would have. It's like any dog on the street. It's like, oh, come here, Firules. Okay. The point is that this actually comes from, apparently, when Latino immigrants were immigrating into the U.S. over the border in the middle of the 20th century. The U.S. authorities required that the dogs be free of lice. Free of lice. And, of course, the way that it ended up pronouncing that here is Firules. Firules. And so any old dog in the street, they'll just be like, oh, venga acá, come here, Firules. That's how that came about. From free of lice. It became so popular as a common dog name that I was reading the show Rugrats in the 2000s. You know, in the U.S. version, the dog is Spike. When they dub it in Espanol, in Spanish, they name the dog Firules. So any dog is Firules. Firules. From free of lice. The way my friend originally told me, he told me that it came from a shampoo, from free of fleas shampoo. Or maybe there's a free of lice shampoo. So and people, because it's brought down with the American, with the English name on the packaging. And so people, I guess, saw that, and they just pronounced it as Firules or Fido Fleece. But I don't think so. I think what I read up, it turns out it's from the free of lice. So apparently now in all of Latin America, not just Mexico. A common dog name is Fidules. Another fun little thing that my friend told me was this is an expression that I think is fun. I like the little translations that are weird. Like for, you know how we have popping a cherry? He said the equivalent of that in here is rompí el telón. Rompí el telón. I broke the curtain. I loved that. Now, I asked other people, and that might just be him. That might not be a popular one. Finally, I want to talk about the meat handling at the markets because what's so fascinating is in the U.S., we are so focused on, we can't, if we touch raw chicken, we got to wash your hands. Any raw meat, that's contamination. You have to, everything has to be thrown out immediately after you touch it. Careful with this cross-contamination or whatever. The markets here, there's guys and women that just touch chicken all day long, hand you money, touch the chicken. They're not washing their hands, they're touching it, and they're fine. They're not getting sick. Is there some difference in the chicken quality? Because over here, it's like all day long. And I'm not washing my hands after they're handing me the dollar bill change back. They're touching chicken all day long. All they live is raw chicken. And they're great. They have these, anyway. I don't know what's going, I don't know. It doesn't bother me. I'm not icked out anymore by raw. Is there a difference in the kind of chicken in Mexico and the U.S.? There's more contaminants to the chicken in the U.S.? Or they're just doing it wrong here at the markets? But they seem to be just fine. I buy their chicken. There's this other thing they do that's fun is to keep the flies away from the chicken coming there all day is they just have this like cloth stick with cloth on the end. And there's just a woman that sits there all day on her cell phone, alternating her forearm back and forth, slapping the chickens with her cloth. So the flies just it doesn't stop the flies. It's just kind of like a practice. I'm just sitting here doing my nails and slapping the chicken. Back and forth, back and forth. Dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-dow. All right, let's go to weird, hard, scary, stupid, which is, let's all wrap this up into one thing this week, which is turning 40. I actually turned 40 coming up on March 5th, and I can't really believe it. It's been a crazy year for me I've been thinking about it constantly all year. I worry about it. I think it's because, I know part of it is that I wanted to have a certain kind of career success. I think particularly in stand-up before I was 40. I think it's very arbitrary, but I think honestly the career, stand-up is like a young man's career, and people who are young are seen as potential rising stars, and the older you get, it feels like you're looked at as over the hill a little bit, blah, blah, blah. All of that is a lot of talk that doesn't help nobody. But I think also coming back from Mexico, I had, really been, I felt good about, my act, and coming back to New York. You've heard about this, blah, blah, blah. You haven't heard about this. Maybe you have, but I felt it's hard to share. You don't want to be a sad sack. But, I thought, I was like, okay, I'll come up and I'll start. This will be my year when I'm 39. That I'll make it, or start to pop off a little bit. And you didn't necessarily. And I just been looking at 40 like, I'm not successful by this time. And it's just caused a lot of stress. I've also thought, not only success, but probably looks wise is tied into it. Start to look older. You start to, just a lot of feelings. I never viewed myself as someone who was 40. You don't just sort of like, it's seen as a bit older growing up. It's like, 40, that's old. And I think I have a lot of that ageism built in to me. So I just need to rip this off like a 29-year-old losing his virginity. It's like, it's so past time for me to just rip this thing off and feel better and move on. So I'm looking forward to that next week. This 29-year-old just looking at it the whole time. Should I do it now? It's been so long. Why even do it? Well, I don't have a choice. I got to rip it off. But you got to rip it off. And I thought it was only, I'm thinking the other day that this is funny to me. My legs have started to hurt. And like, I don't run. When I run, I've got like there's something wrong with my knee. The last year, I'm like, I need physical therapy on my knees now. Like I try to do squats and there's pain when I do squats. And I think I never thought, I never thought that I never thought that I would be searching for my first professional career success after my body started to decline. That to me is very funny. I never thought that I would be searching for success while now being like, well, I hunch over a little bit, or like my legs are a little, I don't, hold on a second. I can't jump on the bed like that in the sketch like I thought I could. And I'm not, like, if I had to do a sketch or something, like, or I was acting, I never thought I'd be searching for success after my legs started creaking. That's just very funny to me. And the other thing that's happened over the past year is hair gets tied into it too. My appearance and like losing hair and like balding more. And that's why I went blonde, by the way, so that everybody knows. That's why I went blonde, because I'm balding and I've never gone blonde as a gay. It's a aging gay in crisis. I'm balding, and so it was like now or never. It's now or never. It's the last chance. So I'll go blonde. Gotta go blonde. The clock is running out. That's why I did that. And of course, it's tied into aging. I talked to my therapist about this, and we practice doing exposures for OCD. Exposures with OCD is like where you lean into the thing that gives you fear. For me, like looking at my hairline gives me anxiety. I like look it in the mirror and I'll think like, oh God, I lost a chunk of hair in the front and I'm not going to be attractive. And it's my fault that happened because I was stressed out for a long time over the last year. And that's when I lose hair, when I'm really stressed out. And this is a tragedy, and you're not going to be attractive on stage. You're gay. You're supposed to be attractive on stage. Oh my God. And, this is the self-talk that I do to myself. You're not going to be attractive. You're, it's going to affect your career on some level. And so my therapist, we spend time like looking at my hairline in the mirror and saying these bad things about myself. You're not going to be successful. Because of your hair, you're going to be you're going to be bald, and no one's going to want to. You're going to have a career that is no one's going to want to book you because you're looking over the hill. It's going to affect your career. You're not going to be as attractive, and you're not going to be a good comedian. It's going to affect your whole career because of your hair. You think of the worst case scenario, and then over time, the idea is you start to look at your hairline and be like, God, I don't care. I'm so tired of listening to that talk. So that's helped. I'm telling you that story because that kind of therapy, that exposure therapy, looking in the mirror and talking bad about, you're telling yourself the worst thoughts that you have in yourself about that over and over again. Eventually, the anxiety recedes a little bit. No pun intended. And I don't care. The rest of it can recede. And so the other thing she showed me, and she's like, oh yeah, because a comedian can never be ugly and funny. She showed me photos of like Bobcat Goldthwait, who's obviously, not an epitome of attractiveness. He's very bald, so it doesn't matter. So that was helpful. And you don't have to be hot to be funny. And I'm hot anyway, even if I shave my head and have this nice beard. I have a good-looking face. So anyway, how y'all doing? Thanks for coming to the podcast today. And it's like on the same theme. Overall, I've been rushing for success. By this time, by 40, I was saying to myself when I was living in New York all of 2024, okay, this is my next opportunity. I'm going to get into this festival. I'm going to start doing road work. I'm going to, kill at this show, get this tape, and then I'll be good. And whatever it is, I'm back in New York, and I have a lot of years under my belt, and this would be great, And you press into thinking, into that, like, you want to get this done, like this year is your year to like make it. And I had that in my head. But the problem is, the more you give yourself the deadline for something that's out of your control, the more I was pressing. The more I give myself a deadline, the more I was pressing for it. And kind of the worse I performed, because every performance became so important. I have to do well because I'm not getting booked enough. I have to do well on the show because I'm not getting booked enough, and I need a tape. I have to do well at this show. And then you have all this pressure up on doing this show at a club that, isn't even in a major club. And, just because you feel you need to prove yourself. And then you're not having fun on stage anyway, and you're not going to do well. And I was spent a lot of 2024 doing that. Like doing shows where I just wasn't even like, I was trying to, yes, I was nervous. Yes, I was worried about my dry mouth going on stage. Yes, I had anxiety, which I always do. But I had the extra added thing of like, you have to do well. The booker is watching, and, you need to advance now. It's past time. And then you value it way too much. You almost try too hard. You kind of have to, it helps to kind of go up there, chill out a little bit. Take a step back, have confidence in your jokes, and just say it. Just be there, relaxed up there, and, get excited when you need to get excited, but don't act like it's an emergency. And so the way I see it now, it's just and also the more, so I'm trying to fit myself, to get myself an accomplishment before a deadline, in this case turning 40, the more my OCD feeds into that, because success is out of my control, and OCD loves stuff that's out of your control. That's where they burrow in, and where the uncertainty lies in, because they try to make things certain. OCD is all about wanting certainty from the uncertainty in your mind. And so I think on some level, because my OCD knew how important that was to me, it can just, I don't know. It can just, it tends to latch on to what's important, which was just stand up in this case. And then my focus on, how much spit is in my mouth, blah, blah. And so the more important it is to you, OCD is like, we're going to burrow in there and F it up. But the way I see it now is you can't put a deadline on something creatively that's out of your control. There's no timeline. You can even take a break if you need to. If you're pressuring yourself too much on something, let it go. My friend was telling me this the other day, you put so much pressure on this, like, let it go for a couple days. It could be a week. You could let it go for a couple months if you need to. If you're putting so much pressure on yourself, it's not really it's not the best way to work creatively, to say the very least. The way I'm trying to look at it now is there's no correct deadline for. I can't look at it like I have to be successful by 40 or something. I have to reach some kind of milestone, like getting past at bigger clubs by 40, or I don't know, like having an album that was a hit by 40, or having a big following on social media by the time I'm 40. I can't really do that, because creative work maybe doesn't follow the timeline that you give it. I don't, and then the more you pressure in on it, there's one thing about being professional, having a lunch pail mentality, bringing and going to work every day, writing every day. Then it will come. The muse will come when you put the work in. I read a book often called The Art of War that I reread constantly, and The Art of War. Sorry, I don't read that constantly. That's by Sun Tzu. I read The War of Art. And The War of Art, by Steven Pressfield, is all about get your ass into the chair and write. Don't get distracted by social media. Don't get distracted, by failure. Failure is just a sign that you're getting closer to success. it's a small little pamphlet of a book that really gives you all the tips you need to get off your butt and start writing and not make excuses for yourself. It's about getting up every day and just writing. Doesn't matter if it's a load of crap all day. The fact that you did it, and he has this theory that the muses up there somewhere in the ether, they like it when you work hard. You know, you get an idea. Where does the idea come from? When you get an idea, creative idea that's like a genius, whether it's a song or a joke or a new recipe. You know, Pressfield says that. Pressfield says that the muses reward you when you've done the work. Your job is to put in the work and the hours, and then you will get the inspiration will come. It doesn't come easy. It's hard work, but the muse loves hard work. And, you know, even if you wrote a bunch of crap stuff that was crap for 3 hours, the muse loves that you wrote. And so anyway, the point being, I was talking about the art, the war of art, and I'm talking about getting to work. You know, if you start doing it, if I'm doing this. I was acting like an amateur. As I reread the book, I realized he has this thing where the amateur identifies too strongly with his art. He's like, I'm an artist, goes out everywhere. I'm a comedian, you know, and I'm a dancer. I'm a professional 5-star chef. Where that's an amateur move. You know, whereas the professional says, yeah, I'm a person. I'm separate from my art. And, you know, it's important to establish that difference between the two of you, he talks about. Between yourself and you as an artist. They're different beings. I'm paraphrasing. But I'm giving you my view of what he wrote. But it's true. Kind of recently in my life, I go around and I've been putting so much pressure on making it in comedy. I have to make it. I have to make it in stand-up. Because the reason I have to make it is because then it's not really financial. It's that once you get bigger, you get better shows, and then you can actually have more fun doing what you love to do, performing for more people. Tired of performing it's fine to perform for 10 people, but it's not as fun, and you can't, you know, to really have more and more fun. The more success, it's true. The more success you have in comedy, the more fun you have, in a sense, because you're getting bigger audiences and bigger shows, and the more shows you perform, it's like a lot of fun. So it's kind of in that sense. But if you think about it in the way that you just want the success, you're not doing it for the love of doing it. And I've spent the last year, quite honestly, not doing it for the love of the act. And that is not because I don't love stand-up. It's because I got away from there a lot of things happened, and I just got to self-correct. I got away from my train of thought just now. Blah blah bitty boopity takity chaka. You know, I think I put so much pressure again on trying to make it by 40, and I had belief in myself that it's like, let's just focus on the business side of this. Not that I'm excellent at that necessarily, but who is? Not many. But you know, and then it's like, well, you're not really doing it for the love of it, you know. I remember when I started Comedy at the Corner, this comedy show in Brooklyn in 2016, I think it started. Did it through the pandemic, until the pandemic. Yeah, I saw it as like a way to get booked in other shows. Oh, Keenan's got a good show. Let's try to book him on it. You know, so book him on a show. But I also was like, I do love hosting a show, and I love a good show. And I love a great vibe at a good show. I went back to New York, and it's like, you know, another thing that the War of Art talks about is that you don't get rewarded with hubris. You don't get rewarded of like, oh, I'm better than that. and I think there was a couple of things in New York where I thought, I'm better than that. Oh, they're not letting me in at that kind of club that's like maybe a B club or a C club. Fuck them, I'm better than that. Instead of being like, oh, maybe I could just produce a show there. What is with your ego? And so I got punted. The muses hate the ego. Back to Pressfield and the War of Art. Can't recommend the War of Art more. Tiny book. You could read it in 3 hours. I took it on vacation, 4 hours. I took it on vacation. I took it on vacation with me. I reread it twice this year. And so, bobbity boop. I mean, I just gave you everything you need to know, folks. Don't even read the books. Listen to my podcasts. This is like a, what do you call it? One of those podcasts for like, I guess it is a creative podcast this time. This podcast, this round, can be creative. I was going to say, I'm like Tim Ferriss, how to be a marketing guru or whatever. Like, I'm going to be like, how to be a creative comedian, how to be a creative artist, how to master your creativity. Like all the, I don't know why that's bad, but, it's kind of like there's a million podcasts like that. The point is that I was putting so much pressure on the success of it. And the muses hate that. And some things I saw as better than me. Not good. Nope. No more. I'm switching that around. I'm not better than stuff. It's just kind of a change of mentality. It's not my fault. I was a big fish in a small pond in Mexico. I'm out here saying, I can do Spanish. I could do Spanish stand-up pretty well. There's a lot of work. It's kind of a crazy thing to do. People are going to be like, oh, that guy's cabron, which means he's cool. Like look at what he did. No, they don't do that. People are in their own head. You don't get shit automatically, even from a past good you've done for people. You got to just do everything you can. You got to take it all the opportunities. So the muses hate the ego. The muses hate the ego. And there's one more thing in this section as I talk about turning 40 is Om Anadam Nama. Oh, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. Om Anadam Nama. Om Anadam Nama. Which is a principle that a new friend I met the other day sent me. And it's that you do everything you can if you have a goal to get the pieces in place to have a good outcome. You do what you can to prepare to essentially have a successful outcome. And then you release yourself from caring about the result. And this idea is helping me a little bit. I have to work on it a little bit and look more into it. But the idea is to not care about the outcome. You do everything you can for a good outcome and not care about the outcome. I'm trying to do that sort of with my special coming up in Mexico City on April 3rd in Spanish. Do everything I can to prepare because I'm very nervous about it. I'm concerned. I think the material is there, but I only get one shot at it. What if I have a particularly dry mouth that night? And what if I'm not in the zone? I'm not doing 2 shows. I don't think I can get people in for 2 shows. And it's hard to get people out here to go do as much as they say they're going to come in Mexico. Sometimes they say they're going to come, but they don't. They do that everywhere. That's everywhere. But for me, it's a little harder here because I don't even understand what means I'm coming, what means I'm not. I mean, they're always like, déjame checar y te aviso. Okay, side note, I'm ripping that out. We're not getting into this. The point is, like, you got to cast a wide net because you don't know who's going to come that night. You have a few reliable people, but you don't know who's really going to come. And it's not like an average Mexican is coming because I don't have a huge name here. So I got to, rely on a lot of friends for this one. And hopefully some folks, some Mexicans will show up as well because make it really great. A real diverse group of audience would be great between foreigners who speak Spanish and locals and, people of all classes together. I love that. But I'm nervous about the show because I think that, again, what if I have an off night? I lose the whole opportunity, and then all of a sudden I've paid for the special to be filmed, and I don't know if I get another bite of the apple with someone with, it's like, bro, he's going to film it again. If it doesn't work, I mean, that's in your head. Oh, let's not even go there. I don't even go there. But let's be honest, you go there in your head. You think of the worst case scenario. But I'll go down that dark road with you. It makes me feel a certain way. But it's like, no, I'm prepared. I'm getting more prepared. And the fear that I have is that I won't be ready, that it won't go well that night. But it's like that's attaching to the outcome. I can't really care about the outcome. I can put everything I can in place for a good outcome, practice the routine. I think maybe perform it in front of folks who can give me some feedback on some of the language is not. There's probably gonna be a couple of language errors, more than a couple. I'm going on and on here, but I think it's like I think I'm worried because it's gonna be good. I think. Oh my God. The whole thing makes me nervous, and I think there's some perfectionist thinking I have going into it as well. It's not like I have a fear that like I'm going to use some words that are like, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect special. I'm going to tell you all that right now. I'm saying it in Spanish. I don't have the kind of vocabulary. These jokes could be punched up. Some of these jokes, like I could use certain language to punch up probably every single one of these jokes. They're good. Could they be better? Yes. How do I do that? I don't know. And do I need to obsessively make it perfect? Probably not. It just needs to be funny and good and me and unique, and that it is. But perfection it kills you. Perfection is tough. It destroys you. I mean, it's not good creatively. To overthink all of the whole thing. And you want to have fun. You want to have fun, be you, and have a great time doing it. And that's the point. I did a show over the weekend in Oaxaca. As of now, the one big show I'm doing to prepare for this. And I had about 20 people there, which is good for me considering I don't have a big presence in this country, or in the American country, or in the United States for that matter. And I felt really good. I got on stage with a lot of positive energy, and I talked to them, and I just gave them my vibe. I told them who I was. They saw who I was from the start. We had fun from the start. There were times of inspiration and just feeling in the zone and feeling like I was, really 1, 2, 3ing with them to the 4 to the 5. And, there were times, of course, now I'm just popping candies during the set because I'll get my mouth will get parched, and the way I'm dealing with this is just popping a candy. Just did that a few times, and that was okay. There was a couple times where I was fumbling over certain words, and I just make fun of myself with them. Fumbling over words because of the Spanish, because of not knowing the certain word to say, or a joke. One joke I was translating from English, and I couldn't remember the translation correctly, and so I was just stuck with them, and and it was fun. That was fine. You're just so. I'd love it to. I think that was a good stepping stone to the third. But you're nervous about it. You're worried about it being successful, and that's no good. It's all about, again, let's do what I can, put this in place to do the best job I can do, and forget about the outcome. Forget about the outcome. What is the outcome? That I sell it to a channel, that sends it to everywhere, and it's I make some money off of it. Is that success? It could be. I could do a bad job and the job I don't like and sell it maybe, and it work and they sell it and they buy it. Is I could do a great show and then maybe it's not sold, and I have to self-publish it. I feel like what is going to be the marker of success? I think I haven't even defined that. I think I don't want to embarrass myself. That's a big motivator. And it's not because I don't believe in what I'm doing. I do. I know that I can get flustered by my OCD and by my anxiety. And I want to impress people. That's another thing. I want this to impress my peers, people who speak Spanish. And it's like that all needs to probably go out the window. And you really want to impress yourself. And you really want to be proud of yourself. And, give yourself love and, admire yourself. And you want to just enjoy the process for you. All these people are there to see you and enjoy the night. So have a good night. There's a couple logistical things I'm worried about with this space. I'm worried, getting a background and everything, getting something on set, getting a background curtain and the right stuff. And I don't know how to, but other than that, the cameras are taken care of by other people. It'll be what it is, and it's just about showing up and trying to be proud of yourself, just in every moment, almost. Is that possible? I've never thought about that, but just to be proud of yourself, I feel like is maybe the goal. Okay, we're gonna doobity bop bop out of here from Mexico City with my Oaxacan hot chocolate and my electrolyte water. I got a little choked up right there. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got a little choked up in that segment. I had a little therapeutic moment here live with everybody. And so that felt pretty good. And thank you guys all for being here. Just a couple announcements before we go. Join me on Threads, which is the new Twitter version for the Instagram's Twitter. I do a lot of like a lot of longer posts there that are like stories about my little joke stories about my life. They mix, I'm telling stories and throwing in a little joke. So, so that's been, some of them have gotten like over 1 million views. I love writing them. And so I'm working hard on there. I'm just having fun. I love there's an extended, it's not like Twitter where you only have a short little thing and just tell a joke where it's like people don't really have context for who I am. So it's hard to be funny, I think, because they don't even see my face. They don't have a context for like what my point of view is. It's hard to fit that point of view in one sentence for me. But Threads give you a little more space. I can just kind of, I love a sentence and then another sentence. You can really do like 5 sentences, 7 sentences, 9 sentences. You could build a whole, and I like the format and having fun with it. And then secondly, please, please, please tell people about my special coming up April 3rd in Mexico City at Beer Hall La Casa de Stand Up. Tickets are at KeenanSteiner.com. This is my first special, actually, of any special. More stuff. Of course, we recorded in English down the line, but this is a Spanish special. It includes it's mostly material about me living as a fish out of water, shocked and surprised by the cultural shocks in Mexico as a gringo living here. And there's There's some that have jokes that have translated from English act. And so tell people to come. April 3rd, KeenanSteiner.com. Venga al show el 3 de abril en Ciudad de México. Es mi primer especial de stand-up. Pues voy a estar grabando en vivo. Va a ser increíble, con abridores increíbles. Voy a invitar unos abridores muy chidos. Y es una noche, no sé si han ido a un especial en vivo donde hay cámaras y todo eso, pero va a ser muy interesante, Hay bebida, va a ser bebidas, hay comida. Venga a las 9 para que puedas comer, consumir y beber, disfrutar, charlar, platicar, cotorrear. Y después de eso ya tienes tiempo, vamos a empezar el show con los abridores y después yo. Y es mi mejor set que tengo de mis años en México picando mucho piedra. Güey. Neta, vas. Okay. Thank you all for joining me. This has been a podcast from the funniest comedian you know. It's Keenan. And guys, have a good start to the week or it's weekend, whenever this ends. Great to talk to you guys. I'll see you for the next one. Bye. Rate and review. Comment, rate and review. There aren't any so far. Give a review. Come on, baby. All right, guys. Thank you so much.